Hello. Today I will be covering a ship that has seen quite a bit of action on my stream, and I've been using this new build. Well, new, and I don't know actually how long I've been using it, probably for a month. And whenever people ask me about this build on stream, I've always been promising that I will make a commentary, but I've been putting it off. Especially as of late, I've been kind of busy with preparing all the German battleship commentaries, and of course I had to make Dunkirk and the Scharnhorst and so forth. But finally got some spare time, so I figured I'd quickly put this together since it has been requested a lot. Now, the idea behind this Khabarovsk build, the reason why I'd call it 3x4 is basically because you skip Concealment Expert entirely. Now, you know how much I love Concealment Expert, so skipping it entirely is a pretty big change to the usual game style. And fundamentally, my decision making came down to the fact that this Khabarovsk isn't a DD you can contest caps with, even if you have Concealment Expert. If you have Concealment Expert, you get your stealth a bit below 8, and that concealment is going to be completely spotted out of the water by enemy DDs. So it doesn't really matter. Now I hope this Fletcher understands to keep moving into the cap. He needs to scout what's behind the island. He needs to scout, but for me, if he's okay, well, the enemy. Did I show the scoreboard? I don't know, but the enemy has 2 New Orleans and a Moskva. So sitting still like this is super risky. If an enemy cruiser pushes on the other side of this island and we don't have vision of him, he can get within like radar range without us even noticing. So that's why scouting on the other side of the island is a must. You can't just sit behind the island like this if they have multiple radar cruisers. Basically I have to pop around now, and I'm the worst person who have to basically do this type of scouting because he has significantly better stealth than me. But I'm gonna take a peek anyway, and hopefully there are no cruisers. I spotted the Moskva on the right. The only question now is the New Orleans. A lot of people haven't really adapted to playing against radars. I feel like people still don't understand how to adeptly prepare against radars. I see people getting caught out by radars all the time still. It's like a radar cruiser these days is a zoning tool. Wherever this radar cruiser goes, you need to give it space. You need to retreat and back off. And a lot of people don't seem to understand that, and you also need to scout better to make sure that you can't be caught by surprise by one of them. Anyway, here you see this build in action. Of course, with AFT I have the range. I've always said that you have to have range. AFT have always been a core build of the Russian cruisers, but here I'm also running Demolition Expert, and you can see the effect that has. It actually buffs your fire chance to 12%, and considering the fire chance you have, or I mean the fire rate you have with these 8 guns, you actually end up starting a pretty ridiculous amount of fires. It's a surprising amount of pure DPM that you're pumping out, not just in HE damage. Okay, the HE damage is pretty pitiful compared to your AP damage against battleships, but the actual fire chance is surprisingly good. It's simply because of the sheer volume of shells that you're pumping out. And the fundamental point of this build is that, of course, when you don't use Concealment Expert, you give up. You give up any ideas of being able to be stealthy. So with this build, you don't even attempt to be stealthy at all. You saw the first thing I did as soon as I saw a battleship that was within range of me. I opened fire, I started shooting. You simply don't give a shit about your stealth. You don't even play it really like a DD. You play it more like a light, fast cruiser. With Concealment Expert, you can still play it somewhat like a DD, like try to go for ambushes and such. But with this build, it's very much about abandoning all of those stealth mechanics, all of that stealth gameplay, and in turn you go for this light cruiser that relies on not being hit to survive. You might notice that I have 26.5k HP. That's of course because I also use the HP perk, which is a third 4-point perk, which of course gives the name 3x4. Now this Montana has repaired and was trying to flee, so obviously I'm harassing him and setting additional fires on him. Because with AFT you got great range, and hitting battleships with this shell velocity is very easy. You can see he's got fire after fire on him now. He's got what, 2 fires on him burning? You can see my damage tick up on the top right. Okay, switching to AP because Izuma is giving me a nice fat broadside. Oh, Amaga is here, and that's in his instant smoke. Instant smoke and slowdown. And of course, if you get broadside at this range, even with the HE damage, it's far worth it to use AP. Just even with this build, even though I have AFT, I'm still using AP at this range because, well, I've spoke of this several times in the past, but Khabarovsk AP is insane, and well, you can see by the damage I'm starting to pump out against this broadside here. With full volleys, you easily do 3 to 4k damage per volley, so obviously no point using HE here when you just do so much pure damage with the AP. You can see how quickly he's melting. He should not. This is also a fundamental mistake many battleships still do. They don't respect the Russian DD AP damage. For some reason, I don't understand why. Like, if you angle against it, it becomes so weak. It only really works if you give it really good broadsides. But for some reason, I see it over and over again. Battleships don't respect it at all. They see this small. They basically see the damage numbers as small, and I think it shows light damage as well, and that's why they don't respect it. Okay, this Fubuki. Oh god. This Fubuki just potatoed really hard. Basically, the Fubuki was the one who was spotting this guy for me. The only thing he needed to do was keep spotting him, and he would have died. That's literally the only thing this Fubuki needed to do. But instead, he pushed in, got spotted. You saw the Izuma turn away because he got spotted. Because this Fubuki got spotted, the Izuma turned away. And then the Fubuki smoked up. Using HE now because he's angled. Trying AP, see if I can do any damage. But no, you can see it instantly. Okay, this Fubuki's plan was to drop a second smoke for me, but he basically bungled it as badly as he possibly could, because one, he got spotted, which forced him to turn away. Second of all he needed to do was keep spotting the Izuma and he would have died. I didn't need many more seconds. I was doing 4k per volley and he was down to 11k. I needed 3 more broadside volleys and that Izuma would have died. So instead of just spotting him, I mean, I guess his heart was in the right place coming to smoke, drop a second smoke on me. But all he really needed to do was just keep fishing. I think he overthought himself, or I don't know. Maybe he knows that I'm a YouTuber or something, and he was like, I'm gonna make this great play. And, well, it kind of backfired. Oh well, his heart was in the right place, but ultimately that means this Amagi is well, I could chase him down. I mean, I could easily chase him down and kill him. He can't outrun the Khabarovsk. No battleship can outrun the Khabarovsk. But this guy is already disengaging and running away. He's essentially useless. So instead of wasting a time hunting him down and making sure he's dead, I set him on fire. So now if the Fubuki uses his guns, he can set him on fire a second time and kill him. But I don't think the Fubuki is going to use his guns. Japanese DDs rarely do. I gave him the opportunity anyway before I disengaged. So I'm just going to go help at B instead. But once again, there's no point where you want to like not shoot with this build. A fundamental part of this build is never stop shooting. Much like the Kiev gameplay back in the day. You might have seen one of my really old Kiev gameplays where I broke like 200k or something. There, the fundamental game plan with playing that ship was also to never ever stop shooting. Now, with Concealment Expert, you kind of want to stop shooting at times to actually be able to make use of that Concealment Expert, to be able to sneak up on DDs and such. But with this build, you kind of abandon the whole idea of even sneaking up on anyone. You just go full light cruiser and full non-stop constant damage. That's the plan. You might see I already have almost 130k damage, and I mean, for a DD, 130k damage. That's battleship numbers pretty much you're getting there. And all I've been doing is just shooting. I don't have a single torpedo hit. It's all gun powered at 130k damage. So definitively very respectable damage. Oh, Izuma. Izuma is actually one of the nastier targets to shoot with the Khabarovsk, because he has very little superstructure. Most of the superstructure is in the back, or you have to hit that small bump in the front to be able to get that decent damage, because you obviously can't pen broadsides. I mean, Stellinium is strong, but it's not that strong. Yeah, he's shooting at me. I accelerate, I stop again. His shells go too far in the front because I accelerated and stopped again. You can juke, at this range you can juke battleships fairly easily with the Khabarovsk. It's just too quick for them to be able to really hit you. Most of the time they give up after a couple of volleys. Like, you see, I'm perfectly detected. I'm not even using my smoke or anything because I know that there's nothing shooting. I see nothing that can shoot me. If something would start shooting me, I would smoke up, but there's really no need for it. So why waste the smoke? Save the smoke for when you actually need it, because this build doesn't actually use superintendent. It uses vigilance, so you have 3 smokes. And most of the time I tend to use those smokes for the oh shit moments. Like, of course I still offensive smoke, but this build, or this comp in particular, I chose this game because they have 3 radar cruisers, 2 New Orleans and a Moskva, and they have a ZA somewhere in the back there as well. So you don't really want to, you don't want to get caught in a smoke with radar active. Too risky. Harassing once again. You might have noticed there's almost no point in this game where I'm not firing at something. I keep myself kind of central to the caps, so I can constantly keep firing on something. Had I chosen to hunt down that Izuma, there would have been a fairly long gap of having to sail back to the action, and fairly long gap of simply not using my guns. And a fundamental point of this build is to basically never ever stop shooting. Always try to position yourself that you can shoot. Now I'm using HE because this guy's 1 angling, 2 I'm suspecting he has radar. I'm pretty sure he actually has radar. Let's see, I'm gonna smoke up. Yep, he has radar, but I'm not gonna panic. I'm just full reversing, waiting for his shells. Still full reversing, just hammering HE on him. Now I'm going full forward instead. But he's pretty much, he's so messed up. Like, you see the HE damage? I had so many fires on him. What is he even supposed to do? Like he can radar all he wants, but the sheer damage just melts him. Because he used his repair earlier, so I knew I could just burn through him with HE. Angled cruiser, you're obviously not going to do anything with AP against him, and in general you shouldn't take those type of fights that it just stick there. Like, only take them if you have a significant advantage, which I did. I had backup, and I knew he had used his repair and so forth, like significant advantages in my favor before I took it. This game is now starting to look fairly done. Someone is complaining about radar going through islands. I guess it's a bit of a valid complaint, but radar going through islands isn't that much of an issue if you understand to sit behind the island. Because I mean, what does it matter if you're spotted behind the island if you just don't move, or if you stay out of line of sight? That's a lot of thing. For some reason, radar panics a lot of people. I mean, all it means is that you're going to be spotted for a set amount of time depending on the ship that's spotting you. Worst case is Des Moines, which is 40 seconds, which makes it really rough to just like endure it. But the other ones, it's really not that bad if you don't panic. Like, the most sometimes I see really calm and collected approaches to my radars, which makes me happy and usually impressed. Like, just recently I radared a Fubuki, and he calmly reversed behind an island. He was near an island, so he just stopped and reversed behind it to like just endure my entire radar while hiding behind it. And I thought it was a great play of him. He like completely outplayed me with such a simple maneuver, so I complimented him. But for some reason, people just panic, full-on panic for radar, and they don't prepare for it, and then when it hits they just go full panic mode. What happened? And they run away. This game, however, is over. Time ran out. 164,000 damage, which with 0 torpedo hits, that's pure gunpowder. Not a single torpedo hit. 164,000 damage with just pure gunpowder, and you still have the option of the torps, of course, to assist you. Des Moines took the top spot, probably killed some DDs. I didn't actually kill, I think, any DDs this game, so that kind of messed with my XP. But still, you can see the sheer amount of main battery hits. 488. I got 57,000 fire damage, almost with her. with this build, getting Witherer is nothing, it's not even anything special. It's something that can happen quite often, especially if you got a lot of T10 battleships against you. You can easily get Witherer, because all you do is shoot and spam non-stop. Anyway, let's move on to the modules. Right, as usual, let's start with the modules. I prefer the 10km torps or the 6km torps, simply because often when you fight enemy DDs, they will smoke up. And if you need to torp into the smoke, trying to do it with the 6km torps can be very painful, especially if you have to close the distance while they are smoked up. That's just suicide. So I prefer the versatility that the 10km ones give me. I don't like being limited that hard on range. And of course, consumable wise, I use everything premium. You don't need to use a premium engine boost. I just use it because I have more money than I know what to do with. Upgrade wise, everything that buffs your guns. Main armaments, aiming systems, buffing turret HP, buffing accuracy, and finally buffing your reload with main battery mod 3. I use propulsion mod instead of damage control because speed is your bread and butter on this ship, and even if you have last stand, which I of course do, losing your engine does significantly hamper your acceleration, deceleration, and in general your speed. Rudder shift, because so you can get your rudder shift below 5 seconds. Hey, it's not perfect, but it's a Russian DD, what do you expect? And concealment, because you need at least some concealment, or well, it's nice to have, it's far better than the other option. Now we get to the actual point of the build, the captain perks, which is basic firing training, last stand, vigilance. Vigilance is, by the way, something that you will end up needing with this build, because you need to see the torps coming because of how fast the Khabarovsk is. And finally, why I call it the 3x4 is you take three 4-point perks, starting with AFT, which is a core on all Russian cruisers, or I mean Russian DDs. Well, I kind of play it like a cruiser, so Freudian slip. And Demolition Expert to make your HE spam actually viable. And finally, with those 4 last points that you have, you get Survivability Expert to be able to endure the additional damage you will take by being constantly spotted. Anyway, that was my short Khabarovsk commentary. I hope you enjoyed it.